Good morning. It is such a privilege to introduce our Centennial speaker and graduate of the class of 2006. Some may remember Mikey Thompson as an amazing musician who played the drums on this stage years ago. Others may know him now as a person who's taken the love of photography and turned it into a profession. Most of us remember Mikey as an incredible athlete who won 3 state championships across 2 different sports. In football, he was all-prep and all-state running back. And in lacrosse, he's undoubtedly one of the greatest players in the 38-year history of our program, as he became one of only 4 guys to be named all-prep 3 times, one of only 3 guys to be named all-state 3 times, one of only 2 guys to be named all-American twice, and one of only 4 guys to play professionally from Collegiate in the Major League Lacrosse. If you hear all that and wonder how he did it, I can tell you firsthand that it was through an impeccable work ethic and leadership. Mikey was one of the first students I met when I came to Collegiate back in his junior year, when he, along with some of his teammates, came up to me and asked if they could meet with me 3 days a week before school to work on footwork and agility drills leading up to the season, lacrosse season. And I said yes, thinking they would show up a couple times and quit. But no, they showed up and they never quit. Mikey taught me what our students, what you all are capable of when you put your mind to it. He also taught me that same lesson one time when we decided to go surfing in December. We were surrounded by fog and pouring snow. The air was 30 degrees, the water was around 40 degrees, and just as I was ready to turn around and go back inside, I see Mikey paddling out into the waves. So I had to do the same thing, of course, and I'm glad I did, because it was a great day of surf with a great friend. And you see, that's what leaders do. They get people to follow them, and they take you to places that you didn't think were possible. So today I ask that you sit back and just soak up the words that Mikey has for us. And the next time you think it's too cold to surf, or the next time you think there is too big of a challenge to overcome, reflect back on this assembly, and you just might find yourself overcoming things that you never thought were possible. So with that, please welcome Mikey Thompson.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks. I see all 4 of my grandparents over here, so thanks for being here, and thanks to Collegiate for having me. The last time I was at this podium standing in front of a large group like this was about 9 years ago. I was a senior in high school signing my national letter of intent to go play lacrosse at the University of Virginia. My high school experience at Collegiate couldn't have gone much better. Our football team won back-to-back state championships, where I was an all-state running back my senior year. Our lacrosse team won the state championship my senior year, and I was named tournament MVP. I was playing the drums in a band, I had a great group of friends, and I was headed off to UVA, who had just gone 17-0 and won the national championship. If there was ever a time to believe that happiness was all about simply stringing together as many good things as possible, this was probably the time. Today I'm here to tell my story of what took place in those next 7 years after graduating from Collegiate. What I have gone through in this period of time are things that I never imagined I would experience in a lifetime. Hearing these stories may not be easy for anyone in the audience, nor will it be easy for me to relive them, but they are real, and I have a specific message in mind that I'd like everyone to hear. No matter how hard the circumstance may be, we always, for better or for worse, have the ability to choose how we will respond. No matter how hard the circumstance, we always have the ability to choose how we will respond. In his best-selling book, Man's Search for Meaning, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl describes how he found meaning in his life despite the most brutal of conditions in a Nazi concentration camp. He says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our happiness. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. So the age-old question is this: how can I be happy? Is happiness simply about creating good times and avoiding bad times? How am I supposed to be happy when something unexpectedly terrible happens in my life? I'll start by telling a few of my stories and how I felt right when each event took place. I'll then circle back to each event and explain not only how I got through it, but how it has made me who I am today. In the fall of 2006, I arrived on campus at UVA and immediately fell in love with everything about it. I met some amazing friends, I was enjoying my classes, there were lots of girls, and I loved being a part of the best lacrosse team in the country. When the spring season rolled around, we had a couple early season injuries, and I found myself as a starting defensive midfielder in our home opener versus Drexel. After a 17-0 season in 2006, the 2007 season, and my first game as a Cavalier started with an overtime loss to unranked Drexel. A good wake-up call that nothing was ever going to be easy. Time went on and I liked UVA more and more every day. My teammates were starting to become like family. We were winning a lot of games, and by my sophomore year, we had reached the Final Four in a game versus Syracuse, which had been a dream of mine since I was very young. Unfortunately, we fell short and lost that game in double overtime. In November of 2008, I was at UNC visiting my best friend from Collegiate, Michael Jarvis. It was early afternoon on a Saturday when I received several strange text messages from a few of my friends back in Charlottesville asking if Will was okay. Will Barrow was one of my good friends and teammates that was taking a 5th year at UVA to finish his classes and graduate. Being that I was out of town, it seemed a little weird to me, and before I was really able to think much about it, I got a call from my roommate. He was in tears and told me that Will Barrow had died of suicide. What followed was sleepless nights, disbelief, questions that we would never know the answers to. Why would someone like Will, that seemed to have it all, take his own life? Will was a 4-year starter on the lacrosse team, a member of a fraternity, and one of the most popular guys on campus at UVA. Midway through my senior year, my first cousin and 2008 graduate of Collegiate, Mikey Thompson, was unexpectedly diagnosed with lymphoma. At just 20 years old and in her sophomore year of college at Furman University, Perrin was in total shock when she heard the news. While lymphoma is a very serious cancer, it is at least treatable, and Perrin was forced to drop out of school and head home to Richmond for further evaluations. After a biopsy done by a doctor in Richmond, my Uncle Tommy noticed that the doctor wasn't acting like himself. He went on to tell Tommy and Perrin that it wasn't just a treatable form of lymphoma, but rather late-stage and severe kidney cancer. Horrible news turned to catastrophic news, as most people don't make it past year 1 with this diagnosis. This began a series of intensive surgeries to remove her kidney and surrounding lymph nodes, radiation treatments to the tumor on her spine, and different medications that were borderline intolerable. In the spring of my senior year, I was a captain on the team. We were the #1 team in the country. We were coming off an ACC championship, and we had just won our last home game on Klockner Field on senior day. The game was followed by an amazing dinner with all the seniors and parents, and the seniors toasted each other with the message of the night being, let's let nothing get in our way of winning the national championship this year. The following Monday morning, I woke up to the sound of someone banging down the door. I woke up my roommate to ask if he knew what was going on, and by the time we opened our apartment door to check it out, we saw our teammate, George Hughley, who also lived in our building, being led down the stairs in handcuffs by the police. The next 30 minutes felt like an eternity waiting to hear what had happened. The next call I got informed me that my good friend and women's lacrosse player, Yardley Love, had been killed in her apartment and that it was George. So imagine waking up on Monday after an incredible weekend, thinking that the week ahead was going to be all about preparing for the NCAA playoffs. We've been waiting our whole lives to be in this position. Seniors, #1, about to graduate, ACC champs, and it all came to a dead stop. An unimaginable phone call left me thinking, A, is Yardley really dead? B, did George really kill her? And C, is our season over? The weeks that followed were the worst days of my life. Our team managed to rally around each other with the help of the women's lacrosse team and make it back to the Final Four. After a hard-fought game, Duke scored the go-ahead goal with 7 seconds left in the game and ended our careers right there on that field just weeks after losing Yardley. The following year, I returned to UVA to finish a few classes and help out as a student assistant coach on the lacrosse team. It's safe to say we were at an all-time low as a team towards the end of the regular season that year. We were losing games, we were still in the national spotlight from the year before, and 2 of our star players were having consistent off-the-field issues that continued to hurt team chemistry. Right before the NCAA playoffs in 2011, we were forced to remove these two All-Americans from the team, and there was really no telling where this decision might lead us heading into the playoffs. In my first year out of college, one of my best friends, Max Pomper, unexpectedly lost the life of his brother, Adam. Adam had just finished his freshman year at Loyola, where he was a member of the lacrosse team who had just won the program's first ever national championship. This news was so hard for me to comprehend because Max had already been through so much with the deaths of Will and Yardley. Now to have him lose his younger brother, who was the same age as my younger brother, seemed like too much to bear. After graduating from UVA, I was drafted by the Denver Outlaws to play my first season in Major League Lacrosse. Although the MLL is no NFL or NBA, I was still excited to continue competing and playing with the best players in the world. Just months before training camp, I was at Wintergreen snowboarding when I severely injured my knee. I was stopped on the mountain when an out-of-control skier ran into me and his ski went right into my kneecap, breaking it. It was a hard road back to recovery, but I managed to break into the lineup in the middle of that season. In just my second game back, I picked up a ground ball only to get slashed right on the same spot of my kneecap, and once again it was split into two pieces. After two more surgeries, the Denver Outlaws took another chance on me after having 3 surgeries in the past 2 years, and I broke my way into the starting lineup for our season opener. I played in 1.5 games that year before I had to make the decision that my knee had simply been through too much to risk further injury. I was up to 5 knee surgeries on my left knee at that point, and I had to come to terms with my playing career being over. So here's a quick recap of some of the hard things that have occurred since my graduation from Collegiate. If happiness was all about having good times and avoiding bad times, it'd be safe to say that I was a pretty sad person at this point in my life. However, I'm glad to tell you that that is absolutely not the case. What I'm here to tell you is that we cannot always choose or predict what will happen in our lives, but we can always choose how we respond. Happiness isn't always about smooth sailing. It's about finding those things that give our lives purpose and fighting for those things day after day. Nothing worth having comes easy, and happiness is no exception. There's an African proverb that says, "A man will show his true colors in adversity." What I'd like to do now is return to each one of these events and explain how a positive attitude and tons of support from family and friends has not only taught me lessons that I might not have learned otherwise, but it has shaped me into who I am today. The passing of Will taught me valuable lessons about people who struggle with depression. It's never safe to assume that just because someone seems to have it all on the outside, that they are happy on the inside. It is important as friends to always look out for each other and encourage people to get help if they're really struggling. Will's death also led me and my friend Max Pomper to start the Wheelbarrow Memorial Flag Football Tournament, benefiting the UVA Helpline. The Helpline is an anonymous, confidential telephone service serving the students of the University of Virginia. It provides callers with a confidential, empathetic, non-judgmental listener with whom to discuss any issues the caller may be dealing with. The tournament has now continued for over 6 years, brings in teams from across the country, and has raised a significant amount of money and awareness for suicide prevention. To help explain how Perrin has touched the lives of everyone around her through her fight with cancer, I'd like to read an excerpt from the first blog she wrote about 5 months after her diagnosis. Instead of blogging about the past, I've decided to talk about where I am right now, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and what the Lord is teaching me. That is not to say that I think the past 5 months were unimportant to getting me where I am now. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I've had a devastating kidney cancer diagnosis, major surgery, radiation, and hundreds of doctor's appointments. I've been exhausted, angry, sick, lonely, terrified, and sad. I can honestly say that it's been the hardest 5 months of my life. But it has all brought me to where I am today. I am a stronger person, maybe not physically, but at least emotionally and spiritually. I've learned and grown exponentially. So instead of talking about the hard times in the past, many of which are still hard for me to write about, I want to write about where I am now and what the Lord is teaching me day by day. I'm moving into Furman to start my junior year of college on Saturday. In many ways, I feel like I'm starting a new chapter in my life, but I'm going to be at the place that I love and amongst so many people that I love, and I could not be more excited. So despite everyone telling her that it would be too hard, Perrin returned to Furman that fall and started her first round of chemo on her first day of classes. She studied and went to classes in between treatments and eventually met the love of her life and now husband, Joseph Hall, who was undaunted by the reality of her diagnosis from day one. The two graduated together in the spring of 2013, and they are continuing to fight her battle with cancer together. My Uncle Tommy still claims that those two are the happiest married couple that he's ever seen. Perrin's positive attitude and faith has kept her fighting and kept her smiling. Her blog posts have inspired families and cancer patients across the country, and her dream to become a writer was realized when the Washington Post approached her about sharing her story. Perrin is almost at the 5.5-year mark since her diagnosis with cancer. Her family's here today, and I'd like everyone to give her a round of applause. Yardley's death showed me what it was like to be in the national spotlight. The story was being told on every news channel, every magazine, and every social media platform in the country, and we were right in the middle of it. Our school, our sport, our team, and all of us individually were being judged based on what had happened. Every time that it comes up in a conversation that I played lacrosse at UVA, I say yes, knowing that the following question could possibly follow. Were you there when that kid killed his girlfriend? I politely say yes, I unfortunately was, and hopefully it ends there. With social media being the way it is today, it is important for everyone here to resist making judgments until you know the full story. And even then, always show compassion. Yardley's death also inspired the formation of the One Love Foundation. One Love's goal is to end relationship violence, and it has become one of the largest foundations in the country during a time when relationship violence is at epidemic proportions. I can also confidently say that this event is what led me into the coaching profession. I really learned how important a coach can be as a mentor during good times and bad. My coaches at UVA did an amazing job keeping us all together during this time, and I'm forever grateful for that. Life is never easy for high school and college kids, and I feel that I can relate to that and keep things in perspective as a coach. It also led me to 2 different third world countries to work for a nonprofit called Across the Nations. The past few years, I've spent 6 months in Nicaragua and 6 weeks in Peru. Nicaragua is the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and the goal of Across the Nations is to use the sport to improve education, health, and opportunity for kids in need. I felt that the sport of lacrosse had a bad reputation in the minds of many people because of the perceived culture and negative media. Because I was right in the middle of such a negative event, I felt the need to give back to the sport in a positive way. Here's a short video I made from my latest work with LTN in Peru.
Shake the cold feet. You can't let it go. Too many lives with nothing to show.
Everybody
Back to the 2011 season at UVA. We were having one of our hardest seasons in recent memory, and we had just cut 2 All-Americans before entering the NCAA playoffs. What followed was an amazing demonstration of the power of teamwork. Here's the tail end of the 2011 season documentary that shows how that season ended.
Virginia has advanced to play on the final day. The Hoos will have an opportunity to win the national championship on Memorial Day.
Whether it was the humidity, the occasion, or perhaps a Virginia team that had coalesced and was playing its best lacrosse of the season, the Cavaliers rolled over Denver and into the national championship game. Their opponents? ACC rival Maryland, playing a virtual home game in Baltimore. Before heading out onto the field for the last time that season, Coach Starja brought his team together in the locker room.
Everybody's got to prepare as if their role is the most important one. It's going to be the one that makes the difference in this game. That's what we got to have right there. We only do this if we do it together, as a group. We need the power of the group more than anything else. Everybody right on top of this thing. Oh yeah, fellas, it's just a perfect day out there for us. This is just what we always thought about doing. This is where we wanted to be. It's coming up just the way we want it to be right there. A little smile on your face, a little joy in your heart, and knowing that you're prepared and paid the price. Now we make it happen out there. Let's finish this thing on the field. Woo! We've been together through all of this here, working our butt off the whole time. Let's make this happen right now. Bend your back. Put your hand on the plastic of your stick. Hit the ball off the ground. All those little things, they make the big differences. Move your feet. Open your mouth. Take care of each other out there in every instance, okay? Move yourself without it on offense. Clear the space so you clear your hands every time. Hey, why not us? Let's do this. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
The Cavaliers led 5-3 at halftime, 30 minutes away from the program's 5th national title. After a Briggs goal, the Terrapins stormed back to tie the game at 6. Senior Garrett Ince approached the biggest face-off of his career. The Cavaliers needed to regain momentum.
The ball is still not popped out of a clamp at midfield. Still a battle. Still a battle. And Garrett Ince scoops it up for UVA. Nico Riley, the sophomore, up the right fight. Feeds on top. Matt White shot, score! Who's take the lead back? It's Matt White on the doorstep. Emery feeds to Steele Stanwyck. Now to the cutter out front. This is Matt White. Fires and scores! Matt White with 2 straight goals, and the Hoos lead by that margin.
We'll just try to play keep away here. Minute 50 to go. Great chance and a goal! Colin Briggs with his 5th of the game. That should put it away for Virginia.
Briggs had capped off his MVP performance, placing the cherry on top of the Cavaliers' national title.
Force feeds the crease. It's caught by Adam Gittleman, and it's over. Virginia has done it. There's a pile of Wahoos on the field, and they're all national champions. Wahoo! Wah! Oh my God!
Overcoming one obstacle after another, the Cavaliers turned a potentially disappointing season into their finest hour, facing external scrutiny and skepticism. The 2011 Virginia Cavaliers found an inner strength, and at its core, truly became a team greater than the sum of its parts. Victory loves careful preparation. Amat Victoria Kuran. The 2011 Cavaliers will forever stand atop college lacrosse. A spectacular accomplishment achieved once their locker room came together through inspired contributions from seniors like Todd Fiala and extraordinary leadership in the face of adversity by captains Bray Malphurs, John Haldy, and Steele Stanwyck. The disbelievers had been silenced. By the end of Memorial Day 2011, there were no doubters left. The Virginia Cavaliers were national champions.
The coaches reevaluated our strengths and weaknesses. We got excellent leadership from our senior captains, and everyone bought in and believed in the collective power of the group. Being part of any team is all about hard work, chemistry, talent, and sacrifice. At the end of the day, team chemistry and having everyone working towards a common goal trumps talent every time. As you saw in the film, that team went on to win the national championship and become one of the most unlikely champions in college lacrosse history. When Max unexpectedly lost his younger brother Adam in 2012, it was unbelievable to see the amount of our college friends that made the trip up to Long Island to be with his family. Max has always been that guy that seems to have twice as many friends as you do, and he understands the importance of leaning on them during tough times. He will have your back no matter what, and he knows that you will have his in return. Max describes our group of friends as being fiercely loyal. After going through so much together, you build relationships that stand the test of time. Max told me that one of the most significant things he learned from his tragedies is the amount of love and support that surrounds our worlds. If you treat people the right way, they will do just about anything to help get you through these tough times. And finally, my post-college knee surgeries continue to teach me the importance of patience, health, and determination. Because the only person I could really compete with during this time was myself, my philosophy on competition changed drastically during this time. I learned that at the end of the day, competition is all about pushing yourself to be the best that you can be. It doesn't matter whether you're on a field, in the classroom, in the studio, on stage, or wherever your passions might take you. Worrying about things like winning championships or awards leaves too many things to the unknown. There will always be the days when the shots just don't fall, your competition has you outmatched, or something happens completely out of your control. But as long as you have that feeling of satisfaction that you did literally everything in your power to prepare and execute, that is all you can ask for. Having this mindset makes it easier to enjoy the journey and stop worrying about things that are out of your control. So this speech is yet another way that I feel the negative events of my past have given me the ability and the platform to turn negative events into something positive. Being able to inspire and help young people and be there for them is what I'd like to think gets me out of bed every morning. I don't know all the answers, and I know that I never will. I'm also not for a second trying to downplay the horrible tragedies that I experienced and what those families still experience today. George is still in jail, and Will, Yardley, and Adam are no longer with us today because of one poor decision. But it is what we do on a day-to-day basis that prepares us for those unexpected times when things go wrong. There's a short parable I'd like to summarize that explains how to prepare yourself through your daily life for the unexpected struggles that lie ahead. It's called the persona. Once a foolish man built a boat. His intention was that it would be the grandest and most talked about boat that ever sailed from the boat club. That the boat builder would come to be known as a foolish man had nothing to do with his ability to build, nor did it have to do with his capacity to work hard or his personality. As he built, the foolish man outfitted the boat with the most colorful sails, the decks were made of the most expensive wood, and the cabin was full of conveniences and appliances. On the outside, in big gold letters for everyone to see, was the name of the boat, the Persona. As he built, he couldn't help but anticipate the praises he would receive from the other members of the boat club when they saw the Persona for the first time. In fact, the more he thought about the praises that were soon to come, the more time and attention he gave to those aspects of the boat's appearance that would attract a crowd and intensify excitement. Because he figured no one would ever see the underside of the Persona, the foolish man decided that there was no reason to be concerned with the boat's keel or how the weight was distributed. Why should I spend money or time on what's out of anyone's sight? When I listen to conversations of people at the yacht club, I hear them praising only things that they can see. When the day came for the boat's maiden voyage, all the people of the club joined him dockside. A bottle of champagne was broken over the bow, and a moment came for the man to set sail. As anticipated, the cheers and well wishes from envious admirers said to each other, "Our boat club has never seen a grander boat than this." Several other boat owners from the club even followed behind him on his way out of the harbor to wish him well. Soon the Persona was merely a blip on the horizon, and the man couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of confidence and pride for what he had built. He felt that his boat, his future, and even the ocean was his to control. But just a few miles out to sea, a storm arose. There were sudden gusts of wind up to 40 knots and waves above 15 feet. The persona began to shudder, and water swept over the sides. Bad things began to happen, and the poise of the captain began to waver. Perhaps the ocean wasn't his after all. As for the other club members, the ones who sailed from the harbor with him, cheering and waving, they were nowhere to be found. He'd been too self-absorbed to notice that they had turned back long ago. As the persona was being completely dismantled by the storm, before the captain was able to prepare himself, a wave bigger than anything he'd ever seen crashed down in the boat, and the persona capsized. Now this is important. When most boats would have righted themselves after such a battering, the persona did not. Why? Because this builder, this very foolish man, had ignored the importance of what was below the waterline. The foolish man had concerned himself with the appearance of things and not enough with the resilience and stability in the secret unseen places where storms are withstood. Later investigations revealed that there were no rescue devices on board, no rafts, life vests, emergency radios. And the result of this mixture of poor planning and blind pride, the foolish man was lost at sea. Only a fool would design and build a boat like this, much less sail in it. A man who builds only above the waterline does not realize that he's built less than half a boat. Didn't he know the ocean is dangerous? The foolish man was never found. Today, when people speak of him, which is rare, they comment not upon the initial success of the man, nor upon the beauty of his boat, but only upon the silliness of putting out on an ocean where storms are sudden and violent. So the one who values discernment will ask, so what does this story mean? And soon discover the answer to the question. And the one who cares little for insight will dismiss the story and likely go out and construct something similar to the foolish man's persona. Once a foolish man built a house. Once a foolish man built a career. Once a foolish man built a marriage. Once a foolish man built a life. Identify some of the things in your life that lie beneath the waterline and do whatever you can on a day-to-day basis to strengthen them. Maybe it's your faith, your family, your friends, your education, and your passions. If everything else was suddenly ripped away from you, the stronger these relationships are, the stronger you are. Once we understand that the foundation of character that we're building every day, combined with our ability to choose how we will respond to any given circumstance, we begin to live a life more free of fear and full of happiness and purpose. Don't live your life in fear of what could happen. Follow your passions, continue building character through your day-to-day decisions and relationships, and just know that bad times will come, and they will be hard. But you now know that you will not only overcome them, but you will find a way to be better from them. I'll end with this quote. Bad things do happen. How I respond to them defines my character and the quality of my life. I can choose to sit in perpetual sadness, immobilized by the gravity of my loss, or I can choose to rise from the pain and treasure the most precious gift I have, life itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming to talk to us. That was amazing. And we have a gift for you now.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And y'all are dismissed.